somebody who you would think would know better too is Bill Belichick. I got to play this. I hope that YouTube doesn't take it down. Look, man, it's undeniable. There's a lot about this clip. It's from CBS Sunday Mornings. The piece aired yesterday. It was Tony DeCopel. It was 8 minutes in total. I went and watched it. Tony DeCopel is a great news guy. He's on CBS Mornings every day, and he's cool too. Like the guy's a cool dude. I can tell. So he goes to do the story on Bill Belichick. He's not like a gotcha journalism type guy, but he goes there, and it's very clear that Bill Belichick's younger girlfriend is like super involved. And, maybe that's what they were going for, underneath it all. But I don't think they were trying to do a hit piece. But this is an example of like, this situation, Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, Jordon, they can't seem to get out of their own way. And there's like a lot of fuel that's added to the fire here. So I just want you to take a look at this. This is Tony DeCopel. This is a quick clip of the piece from yesterday morning. Go ahead, roll it, Scotty.
Change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordon Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that that's the...
Jordon was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordon right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on, though Hudson has recently posted about it on Instagram.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordon, where you're a fisherman and she's a mermaid. It's charming. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos. There's another one where you're doing, I know you're not into meditation or yoga or Pilates. You're balancing Jordon on your feet and she's doing kind of the Titanic pose.
Yeah, so I'm on some of those social media platforms, but I honestly don't follow them.
Yo, that's crazy. I don't really know how to respond other than like you just watched that with me. So I don't know that we need a response together. But reacting to that, it's Scotty and I had a conversation about, and this was, to have a look. I did PR, right? So let me put that hat on. When you're in a room, you would. And it's in an interview like that, what you would do is you would tell the entity, whether CBS or with Tony DeCopel. So it's a huge deal that Bill Belichick is dating this younger woman. Like, unless you're living on outer space or in outer space, you know that. So, okay, we get it. As Bill Belichick's representation, this might be something you want to ask. Before the interview, we would be like, hey, this is off the table. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to talk about this. And so if you want to talk about this, then you should probably not come. Because, Jordon will be there. She works with Bill. And that clearly was not something that was brokered prior to, because I read a story this morning that said if CBS could have made it worse. Okay. But you move back to the actual event and the actual piece, like to jump in and say like that, you can't ask that question, like to be the role that she is in, like that's like a really crazy scenario. For that to ever happen is the exact opposite of why you do public relations, which is kind of interesting, that your public relations person is now your story, right? I mean, like that's what it looked like, and I'll go back to when I worked at KWTX, okay? This was an interesting thing, and I never like to like be negative with Baylor, but after all the stuff went on with Bryles, there was obviously a lot of Ken Starr is like, that was ugly the way it ended, but he was the president. So he's kind of being ushered out. They had a PR person, the school did. This woman, I think she used to work at Notre Dame, but she was Ken Starr's PR person. So Channel 10 had an interview Julie Hayes did. So she goes over to the president's office and she's sitting down with Ken Starr. And Julie asked Ken Starr, hey, like, did you see this email? Like, it was an email that you were CC'd on. It was one of the accusations that a Jane Doe was saying she was assaulted by a Baylor football player. And whatever he said, I don't remember exactly, but he answered the question wrong. And her PR person is like, well, let's do that again. And you're going to answer this way, President Starr. And Ken Starr's like, oh, like what? And, Julie's like, keep the cameras rolling. So that was part of that was a huge part of the story. Like, when you do that, when you have not agreed on something and you jump in and think you're going to like narrate like something like that ain't happening. So we were talking, Scotty and I, before, and Scotty made the point, hey, you would think she would know not to do that. And I was like, no, you wouldn't, because she's 25 or however, 24. Like, she just doesn't have the life reps. Like, it's not a knock on her, but like, we're talking about a situation where Coach Belichick is like coming from like where most coaches come from, like just a place where it's like ball. Like, we're not talking about the mental board of health, at least not, not all the time. And like, it's this person that clearly needs the life reps. So you get situations like that, which I've never seen anything like that before. I was, when I saw it, I was like, this is like Saturday Night Live. I really thought that. Any thoughts on it for you, Swingler?
No, you summarized it well. I just said to you, I think her saying we're not talking about that creates way more questions and bad theories than if you have a canned answer, or like you said, you tell the interviewer beforehand, off the table, right? And we've both worked in media. Generally, if you agree to an interview, you have the right to set that term.
Totally.
Like, you can tell the interviewer, you don't ask that question or we don't come. And
I will never understand, me personally, and this is why I do what I do. And I guess we need feisty journalists, people that are going to get in there and say they're not going to ask because the answer to that question is just so important.
Well, and when we're chasing like conspiracies or criminals, that's a different kind of interviewing than,
of course,
a puff piece on a college football coach.
That's what I'm talking about. If you're 99% of the time, if you talk to me, whether it's here or it's going to be on the payoff of the podcast about sobriety, like, I'm not looking to like.
Yeah.
I invited you. Like, I don't want to like.
You're not an investigative.
No.
Yeah.
But that was a wild interaction, and to read this morning that it could have been way worse. And I haven't really been, Christy was here this weekend. We were hanging out, like, obviously a lot of draft. She's the best. I can say that. But, I'm kind of catching up on the reaction to some other stuff. And that was one of the other things where I was like, my brain doesn't even have time for this.